They were co-writing literary darlings until they hit a plot hole that turned their lives upside down. 3 years ago, Katrina Freeling and Nathan Van Huysen were the brightest literary stars on the horizon, their co-written book topping bestseller lists. But on the heels of their greatest success, they ended their partnership on bad terms, for reasons neither would divulge to the public. They haven't spoken since, and never planned to, except they have one final book due on contract. Facing a crossroads in their personal and professional lives, they're forced to reunite. The last thing they ever thought they'd do again is hole up in the tiny Florida town where they wrote their previous book, trying to finish a new manuscript quickly and painlessly. Working through the reasons they've hated each other for the past 3 years isn't easy, especially not while writing a romantic novel. While passion and prose push them closer together in the Florida heat, Katrina and Nathan will learn that relationships, like writing, sometimes take a few rough drafts before they get it right. Chapter 4. Nathan. I'm stuck. On my screen, the cursor waits insistently, mocking me. I've been sitting in front of the computer for 2 hours, and I'm in the exact same place in the manuscript I was when I started this morning. Ordinarily, an empty hotel room would present ideal writing conditions. I roam my eyes over its features for the 100th time, hoping I'll find inspiration hiding in the hidden curtains, the crimson carpet, the distraction-free white sheets on the bed. Since my meeting with Jen, I haven't been able to write a single word. The idea of working with Katrina is messing with my head. Not that it'll ever happen. Jen will call tomorrow and say Katrina refused, and we'll find another way to sell my next book. Which is why I don't understand why I can't write. I can write no matter what's going on in my life. The night I was hospitalized with the flu, I wrote. The night my dad died, I wrote. The night Melissa and I decided to get divorced, I wrote. It's like breathing. Right now, I'm choking. The idea of Katrina saying no isn't what paralyzes me. It's the idea of her saying yes. I can't even imagine it. Even while editing only once, we were only exchanging perfunctory emails every few days. When the book was released, we didn't even do one promotional event together. It probably contributed to the book's success, honestly. After the New York Times piece on the end of our partnership, everyone wanted to hunt the novel for clues of what happened between us, as if the truth could have been in those pages. I close my computer, defeated. The clap of the screen is harsh in the quiet hotel room. I pull out my phone, contemplating calling my ex-wife and quickly deciding it's not a good idea. Conversations with Melissa only leave each of us renewed in our respective resentments. Instead, I call a number I haven't dialed in years. Harriet's voice picks up on the 4th ring. Nathan Van Huysen. An honor, she says sarcastically. Just the way I'd remembered. It's been a while, Harriet. 4 years, she replies in a light sing-song. I smile. It's how Harriet Soong is. She enjoys ribbing her friends, colleagues, even instructors, almost as much as she loves immersing herself in the Southern Gothic mysteries of the novels she writes. Yeah, I say, have you been? Shit, sure. I practically hear her shrug over the phone. Let's catch up. Like it's not a completely fucking weird thing to do right now. I read your book, Refraction, she says dramatically. She pauses and I find I'm still grinning, even knowing what's coming. Your worst yet, Harriet informs me. Well, I've set the bar high, I shoot back. Harriet laughs, and it's fortunately not scornful. I half expected she'd just call me a selfish asshole and hang up. I mean, she still might. I'm just glad she hasn't yet. You haven't changed, she says. Parthenon wants me and Katrina to write another book. The words fall out of my mouth like I can't hold them in any longer. There's a pause on the other end of the line. So, you're calling me when we haven't so much as emailed in years? I hear her voice shift into seriousness. You were there for all of it. I've known Harriet as long as I've known Katrina. The three of us met at the New York Residence Writers Program. She'd often join us on writing retreats. We'd find Airbnbs and usual locales, hole up with days' worth of wine and frozen food, and attempt to write obscene amounts of words. She moderated our book launch for Connecting Flights, which was unsurprisingly perfect, what with her insight and wry humor. When we wrote Only Once, Katrina and I rented a house in the Florida Keys just 15 minutes from Harriet's home, using the money we had from our debut novel. With the wet heat keeping us indoors, we finished Only Once in a matter of months. My ex-wife had not loved the writing retreats. Nevertheless, Melissa understood. It's one of her greatest virtues. She understood. We'd fallen in love our senior year of college and moved in together when we graduated from Dartmouth, her in social work, where every day she heard her client struggles with child custody or financial problems, and she understood. It exercises the same muscles writing does, self-imagination and empathy and hypothetical reasoning, and Melissa excelled at it. Excels. She's working in the same position in Seattle now. She's dating a radiologist. When I said I wanted to write Only Once with Katrina in Florida, Melissa resisted, not unreasonably. I was married, proposing living in the same house for a few months with a young woman who was not my wife, working on our next novel. Most of Connecting Flights was written in cafes or our apartments, with 1 or 2 weekend or week-long retreats. What we were proposing with Only Once was different. Months. Uninterrupted. What's more, I understood innately there were new pressures involved in asking my wife for allowances on one book, as opposed to a potential career of them. Nevertheless, when I explained the practice of long retreats was not uncommon, and plenty of co-writers married to other people did it for efficiency and the collaborative process, she reluctantly understood. I don't know, she probably felt like she had no choice. You kind of don't. In your marriage, in the instances where your partner's comfortable just saying how it's going to be, which I'm sure I did too much of, Melissa would just promise she understood, the way she did with the Only Once retreat. Once she consented, she never fought me on the plan. On the day I flew out of New York for Florida, she smiled from the opposite end of the JFK terminal and waved when I went through security. I knew what she was ignoring, then and for months before, pretending she didn't notice signs other women would have. My distraction. The casual ease I brought to every conversation. I pretended I didn't notice them either, even while I felt the pieces of me pulling in different directions and realized Melissa wasn't the biggest piece. Nevertheless, I tried. I called from Florida often. I made her laugh with inside jokes and made plans for what we would do when I was home. I pretended I was in love with her. Until our conversation in the kitchen one night, 3 weeks after I got home from writing Only Once with Katrina. Then, she understood. We were divorced within the year. Was there a specific question you had for me? Harriet asks. Over the line, there is a clatter of screen door falling shut. I remember the porch in front of Harriet's house, the ocean in view. She's probably watching the sunset in a way we don't see it in Manhattan or from my condo in Chicago. Is this a terrible idea? I intended the question sarcastically. It comes out searching. She replies immediately, yes. I huff a laugh and start to pace my hotel room in my socks. I don't have a choice. Okay, Harriet says. Then why'd you call me? You want me to lie and tell you you'll work everything out? That you'll have the perfect partnership you're used to? I deflate. Harriet's always been uncanny when it comes to finding the heart of things. In the weeks of the New York Residence Writers Program, dinners of Chinese or pub food in the small neighborhood where we were staying, and on our retreats, she would often rib Katrina and me about having hidden romantic feelings for each other until, one day, she suddenly stopped. "Are you ready to grovel?" she asks. "Me?" Groveling to Katrina is the second most preposterous idea I've heard today, and it's close. Come on, you know what she did. Then you took your New Yorker interview. The one where you said writing only once was the worst time in your life and you don't think even Katrina Freeling's genius is worth the torture? I grimaced, toeing the carpet. It's not a direct quote. It is, however, close enough for discomfort. I remember the interview fairly vividly. The sterile modernity of the restaurant, where I met the middle-aged journalist, the sound of my criticism of Katrina leaving my lips. It stung the second I said it. The New Yorker interview was the end, the formal end anyway. Truthfully, it was over the day we turned in the draft, but after the interview, Katrina had Chris call and inform me, sounding stiffly professional, that she was retired. You want my advice? Harriet asks when I don't reply. I wait for her to admonish me, to instruct me to grow up and work with my collaborator like a reasonable adult. Stay the hell away from each other, she says decisively. If you can't, then write this book as fast as humanly possible. I nod to myself. It's refreshing, if sobering. Thanks for your honesty, I say. I hear the screen door open and shut again. Have a good night, Nathan. Hey, Harriet, I say before she can hang up. I read your book. It was incredible. There's silence over the line for a long moment. Thanks, she says, her voice warming like stone in sunlight. Really? I don't have the opportunity to expand on the compliment. Harriet hangs up. In the quiet of my room, I'm left only with her advice. I feel worse, which I wouldn't have imagined possible. I look over, finding my computer on the drab hotel desk, hoping ideas spring from the machine fully formed. They don't, of course. The only thing occupying my head is Katrina. Working with her would be torture. But the undeniable truth is, there's a part of me eager for the torture. The woman is brilliant. I've loved everything she's ever written. Just knowing she's going to write again, it's inspiring. The writer in me can't wait. The problem is, it's not just the writer who'll have to work with her. It's Nathan Van Huysen she can't stand, and who can't be in the same room with her. Instead of reopening my computer, I reach into my suitcase. I pull out my copy of Only Once, which I'm hardly ever without. The pages are folded in places, the hardcover edges misshapen. Katrina's name hangs above mine on the front cover. I open to the first chapter, dropping onto the edge of the hotel comforter, and read. There's no truth to these pages, but the trick of fiction is to make you think there is. I let myself fall for it as often as I can.